Harkening back to the days of ancient Rome, combatants fighting for their lives and the fame they can achieve by defeating all challengers. Combat as sport, as entertainment, this is the arena of the people for the people. Times have changed, so while you won't get eaten by a lion, you might just catch a cannon-fired tennis ball with your face. Hi, I'm Dan Larson, and this is the history of American Gladiators. Thank you to Factor for sponsoring this video. Click the link in the description below and use code GALAXY50 for 50% off your first box today. I've never been a foodie or a person who cooks or someone who gives myself enough time to prep and eat the things I should be eating. Fast food and good food are two things that are almost never associated with each other. Food that is fast, good, and healthy is virtually impossible for me. So to find an alternative to pulling into the drive-thru, an alternative to eating the same pizza, burgers, or chicken tenders every day, that's real value. I've eaten those things so many times that I'm not sure I can even taste them anymore. Factor makes meeting nutrition goals easier than ever by delivering fresh, never frozen, dietitian-approved meals right to your doorstep. The team of gourmet chefs at Factor create each meal using only ingredients with integrity to help you feel your best all day long. Too busy to cook? With Factor, skip the trip to the grocery store, skip the chopping, skip the prepping, skip the cleanup. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes. All you have to do is heat and enjoy. So head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code GALAXY50 to get 50% off your first Factor box today. That's factor75.com, code GALAXY50. Thanks again to Factor. American Gladiators was an alternative sports entertainment program that originally aired 208 episodes over 7 seasons from September of 1989 to May of 1996. While it may not have been the most traditional representation of gladiators, it was American through and through. American Gladiators showcased a weekly clash of regular old Americans versus gladiators. The Americans, contenders attempting to win against all odds, folks like you and me, taking a break from their everyday routine for a chance at glory in the arena of sport. The gladiators, dazzling specimens of human physical achievement, bodies, hair, and makeup sculpted by science, fueled by a hunger for victory, for glory, and for the chance to repeatedly bash you over the head with a pugil stick.
Third and final attempt.
4 contenders enter the tournament arena to pit themselves against the gladiators in a series of spectacular athletic challenges, hoping to earn the most points and thereby outlast the other contenders in a chance to win cash and other prizes. Tests of strength, of stamina, of speed, of cunning, of willpower. Tests of endurance, of grip strength, of rope swinging, of giant hamster ball rolling. A chance to put themselves on the line to prove their skills where it mattered the most to Americans on syndicated television. In 1982, professional Elvis impersonator Johnny Ferraro and ironworker Dan Carr came together to create an American institution. They developed what they described as a working man's Olympics called King of the County. That county was Erie County in the great state of Pennsylvania, the state where both the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence were signed, home of the Liberty Bell, Benjamin Franklin, and Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. The state that gave us Jonathan Frakes and Jeff Goldblum, Joe Biden, Michael Keaton, Tom Savini, and Steve Ditko, Wilt Chamberlain, Irvin Kershner, Will Smith, DJ Jazzy Jeff, and Joe Manganiello.
You're right. It's fact. You're right.
Our research found a published report of a similar story.
You're right. You were correct. It's fact.
The idea for King of the County was a fundraiser bringing together the everyday heroes of Erie County at Erie Tech High School Gymnasium to settle the matter once and for all. Neighbor against neighbor. Johns versus Jagoff.
That's why you put a G in it.
Who could claim the title and $500 cash prize? Lifting things, climbing stuff, tug of war, the pseudo-strongman competition was something Carr had been organizing around the city for things like company picnics and office outings. It grew to the point where Ferraro began to think there was more to it than regional bragging rights. Ferraro was looking ahead. With so many people in attendance, music blasting, competitors everywhere, arm wrestling, he decided to document the whole thing. A proof of concept that he could take to studios to sell as a potential movie, which he started doing in 1983. A year later, in 1984, Carr sold his interest in the project to Ferraro's production company, Floor John Films. In 1987, Ferraro licensed the rights to the Samuel Goldwyn Company. They didn't see American Gladiators as a big-budget movie, though. They saw it as a TV series. 6 initial gladiators were picked from hundreds who auditioned. Former athletes, current athletes, fitness instructors, models, trainers. They were offered a selection of on-screen personalities to choose from, eventually honing those characters into Gemini, Nitro, Malibu, Lace, Zap, and Sunny. Using makeshift costumes and hastily assembled games, they were able to produce a more accurate example of what the show could be with a budget. The pilot was shot in 1988 at the Los Angeles Equestrian Center amidst copious piles of manure. According to American Gladiators announcer Mike Adamle in a 2016 interview with Sports Illustrated, quote, "The pilot was poo-pooed by Goldwyn until he saw one event called Assault, where we had gladiators stationed at different airgun stations shooting tennis balls at the contestants. In particular, the sight of one of the female gladiators competing in this thing got a big reaction. On that small little moment, Goldwyn decided we had something." Dick Askin, president of television distribution for Goldwyn, put the project in front of a Fox network representative. Fox was interested in 26 episodes and guaranteed airtime on all of their affiliates. The only catch: everything had to be scripted. From the gladiators to the announcers to the outcomes of all the matches, everything had to be part of the larger story. They would sell it the same way the then WWF sold wrestling: sports entertainment with deliberate, marketing-driven story and character spectacle. It was a crossroads for the production. What was American Gladiators going to be? A real sport competing with the same audience as the NFL, or an antagonist for Vince McMahon, Hulk Hogan, and the WWF?
One of the New York sales guy, Gary Perchik, he ended up calling me, and he said there was almost, he was at the Coliseum, he said there was almost a riot. There were so many people wanting to try out for the first season of American Gladiators that they had to call in police to just help you manage all the crowd. So we knew that we had something that had captured the the imagination of, the weekend jock.
Askin and Ferraro believed that part of the appeal of American Gladiators was its authenticity. The attraction, the drama, was in watching everyday people go up against the gladiators, cheering them on while reveling in their defeat at the hands of a blonde Adonis aiming a tennis ball cannon at their crotch. Askin believed the realism would carry the show and keep the audience engaged. In 1988, the pilot episode was trimmed down to 7 minutes, an elevator pitch to showcase at the National Association of Television Program Executives Convention. American Gladiators wasn't going to get picked up by a major network. Syndication was the path to victory, and that was the place to make it happen. Ferraro and the Gladiators worked the floor and won the day, leaving with a commitment from stations around the country and an order for 13 episodes. For those 13 episodes, they continued to shoot in LA at a small soundstage with less space, but also less horse manure. Less space meant no room for an audience, so the production had to cheat with clever camera angles, dimmed lighting, and even wooden cutouts with faces painted on them to make it look like people were watching live. Nothing a laugh track and some oohs and ahs can't fix. The American Gladiators theme was composed by Bill Conti, whose work you will recognize from several Rocky movies, the Karate Kid series, and lots of others. He's a multi-Grammy nominated and Grammy-winning composer. As Bill put it, quote, "So they asked me to do the music. The turnaround time was fast. I'm working stream of consciousness, putting in as much noisy brass as I think will make someone want to stand up and punch someone across the river." Producers thought American Gladiators was a show for adults, intended to be broadcast late at night for the same audience that might watch Saturday Night Live. Projected demographics were males 18 to 35. To their welcome surprise, American Gladiators developed a dedicated following that covered the spectrum of viewers, from 10-year-old kids to 55-year-old adults. They had a show that worked for every potentially marketable audience: syndicated television gold. Producers saw their budget expand. As the series gained momentum, they moved to their new home, Universal Studios in Hollywood, a facility with a built-in flow of potential audience members thanks to the studio lot tours. For season 3, American Gladiators upgraded their production facility again, this time to CBS Studio Center in Studio City, Los Angeles, a studio henceforth known as Gladiator Arena. Costumes were upgraded, safety was upgraded. The series evolved to look more like the legitimate professional sports production that producers imagined it could be. A cousin of professional wrestling, sure, but all the pomp and smoke effects, the spandex and hairspray were icing on the genuine, unscripted sports action that was happening during the events.
Now, more action from American Gladiators, the joust event. Comes out hard and fast.
I'm gonna take you!
Good timing. He's picking his shots.
Get down!
Let's see that again.
Tough luck, Nitro!
American Gladiators, you are the Gladiator.
The official American Gladiators joust set. Figures sold separately.
Networks started programming more aggressively, sometimes on Sundays as an NFL appetizer or dessert. Early gimmicks like having an executioner to play up the gladiator concept were phased out by actual referees as the show grew into its own identity. An executioner with a black hood given the thumbs down as he disqualified the gladiator contrasted with the presentation that mirrored traditional professional sports coverage. They recognized how much it undermined Joe Theismann's breakdown of a play, the contender profiles where they talked about their inspiration to not only try out for American Gladiators, but what it would mean if they won.
They'll also move one step closer to that $10,000 first prize and the possibility of becoming an American Gladiator.
Initially, that meant becoming a gladiator themselves. By winning the tournament, by defeating the gladiators, you could become a gladiator. That too was quietly cycled out of the potential prize package before ever being claimed. From the beginning, American Gladiators employed legitimate sports professionals to deliver the television experience. Mike Adamle, originally the co-host with Joe Theismann in season 1, became the primary host for the rest of the series, supported by color commentators with more on-field and industry experience. Pro football veterans Todd Christensen and Larry Zonka, professional sports journalist Lisa Miloski, and during the final season, Nitro himself became the first gladiator turned analyst. While 6 gladiators might have been fine for the initial handful of episodes, it became immediately apparent that wasn't going to be enough, because contestants were showing up to win, and some of them were very big and very good. And incidentally, the physical wear and tear of the grind of producing a TV series like this wore the gladiators down quickly. Contestants might shoot 1 episode a day. Gladiators would have to shoot as many as 3. 2 seasons worth of episodes in 3 months' time. Medical professionals were on hand to tend to the injuries and to declare the gladiators unfit to perform if necessary, and when that happened, they needed more gladiators. Over 30 gladiators would eventually cycle through the production over the course of its run, with Laser being the only one to appear in every season. From 1991 to 1992, American Gladiators went on the road, a 114-city tour playing packed audiences that required far more than the core 6 gladiators, who would generally make appearances but leave the grunt work to the new athletes with less mileage on their bodies. The series turned a corner just before shooting on season 4 began. Heading into 1992, American Gladiators was an internationally recognized brand with the merchandising to support it. But none of that additional revenue was being shared by the gladiators themselves. As Nitro put it in his autobiography, Gladiator, a true story of roids, rage, and redemption, quote, "The original gladiators weren't seeing a nickel from these 75 licensed items like toys, Nintendo games, and apparel that were making the Goldwyn Company millions of dollars. Happy to get the work, they had signed away their likeness rights when they were hired." The gladiators that had become the brand, Nitro, Gemini, Ice, Zap, got together and had a meeting, attempting to demonstrate their union as performers, if you will. They demanded the Samuel Goldwyn Company renegotiate their deals to account for previously non-existent income. That licensed merchandise included things like lunchboxes, trading cards, clothing, a toy line produced by Mattel with kid-sized role-play gear, including official jousting sticks and official assault cannon. Action figures designed with the gladiators' likenesses in their respective gear, playset accessories to recreate the action on screen like Ultimate Joust, the Atmosphere, the Wall, the Eliminator, and a full Ultimate Challenge course, with the trademarked assault to fire tiny plastic darts at your other action figures. It's nuts. The American Gladiators video game was produced by Incredible Technologies in 1991 for the Nintendo Entertainment System, then later ported to Amiga, Genesis, Super NES, and PCs. Significant changes to the real-life games had to be made to accommodate the technological limitations of the day. Most of them received negative reviews then and retroactively by gamers today. If you're not an American Gladiators completist, it's an easy pass. That said, channeling great Americans like John D. Rockefeller Jr., Henry Ford, and Ronald Reagan, Samuel Goldwyn declined to renegotiate the gladiators' contracts or even recognize the legitimacy of their complaints, which led to a gladiator walkout. Nitro, Gemini, Ice, and Zap were joined by Blaze, Gold, and Thunder. The walkout didn't last long, with Zap changing her mind. Ice missed 1 season, Nitro missed 2, Gemini, Blaze, Gold, and Thunder left and did not return. This was on top of a scandal that rocked the World Wrestling Federation. Vince McMahon and several prominent professional wrestlers found themselves in front of Congress due to an investigation into steroid use. McMahon was ultimately acquitted of the charges that he was distributing steroids to his performers, but it was enough to scare American Gladiators into taking preemptive action. Nitro has since written and spoken openly about his experience with steroids before, during, and after American Gladiators. In response to the 1994 investigation of WWF, American Gladiators began testing their athletes. Hard to say whether or not it affected the performance on screen. The gladiators were given ample notice of the testing to allow the drugs to leave their system, then start again afterward. But it was clear that 1994 marked the peak of the original series. After the departure of key gladiators and the increasingly negative perception of steroids, ratings began to decline. While American Gladiators continued for 3 more seasons, airing its final episode in 1996, it never returned to the previous high point it had achieved heading into season 4. American Gladiators' run on American television inspired copycats like Knights and Warriors in 1992 and international productions. That same year, Gladiators began airing in the UK, dropping the American, I assume, because colonial gladiators didn't test well. With a built-in audience already hooked on the American production airing on late-night TV in the UK, it was a logical step to take. The UK production utilized most of the existing elements, including the tournament format of the original series, but added their own flourishes and uniquely English flair, including cheerleaders called G-Force. American Gladiators in the US and Gladiators in the UK resulted in similar shows being produced in Australia, Japan, and other markets. International productions also acted as a means to bring international champions to the US to compete against Americans, making it a truly global competition. American Gladiators developed a kids version in 1994 as well, called Gladiators 2000, hosted by Ryan Seacrest. This version added a trivia element to the competition to satisfy government regulations for educational content in kids programming. And to clarify, in the kids version, the kids do not face the gladiators. Rather, each team is coached by gladiators from the main program. While it would have been entertaining to watch Turbo shoot tennis balls at 13-year-olds, it also would have been cruel and unusual. American Gladiators ran in regular syndication. As of 1992, reruns were picked up by the USA Network, 104 episodes every afternoon right before Cartoon Express. Initially seasons 1 through 3, they added season 4 but declined to pick up the last 3 seasons. Those first 4 seasons continued to air through 1996, ending at the same time the original show ended production. Some of the gladiators made their way to Hollywood, Duran Malibu McBee and Lynn Saber Williams going on to star as Motaro and Jax respectively in 1997's Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Several others became trainers or coaches, spokespeople for fitness organizations or supplements. Dallas turned to professional boxing and wrestling, then training MMA fighters. If you missed the original American Gladiators, you don't have many options. In 2009, Shout Factory released The Battle Begins, a DVD with the last 14 episodes from season 1, supplemented with commentary from Laser, Zap, and Nitro. From October of 2019 to October of 2021, Pluto TV had dedicated channels streaming every season from American Gladiators. Today, your best option is various episodes and a 24-hour channel here on YouTube. American Gladiators returned, sort of, in 2008. Thanks to the writer's strike, reality television got a jolt in production. MGM Television, who had since acquired the Samuel Goldwyn Company, created a primetime NBC version of the show hosted by Hulk Hogan and Layla Ali. 21 episodes over 2 seasons, several of the trademarked original events returned, accompanied by new games and games borrowed from the UK Gladiators series. Series creator and professional Elvis impersonator John Ferraro had next to nothing to do with it and disavowed the new series' claim to the American Gladiators legacy. Another revival was in the works in 2014, which would have blended elements of American Gladiators with heavy influence from The Hunger Games. In 2018, MGM Television announced another version intended for 2019, just in time for the 30th anniversary of the original series. When neither of those happened, MGM went back to the concept phase. As of this video, they may or may not still be developing a project in cooperation with the WWE. If you are an executive at a streaming service like Netflix, check your messages. You may already be the frontrunner for the new series.
How was the doctor able to send email without a computer? But then how do you explain the bullet hole in his phone?
Did it kickstart America's addiction to reality TV? Does BattleBots exist without American Gladiators? Is there a market for American Ninja Warrior? Can Wipeout run if American Gladiators never walked? Hard to give it all the credit when daytime talk shows, professional wrestling, and sports like baseball and football have been broadcast for decades prior. But it certainly helped to further prove the value of a product like that in syndication. What American Gladiators should get credit for is the way it presented men and women as equals in the arena and on television. Perhaps not competing directly against each other, but treating both with the same degree of deference to their physical prowess and competitive desire.
Brian Hudson's third and final attempt.
American Gladiators was, for several years, an American institution, a pop culture phenomenon for all the most American reasons. Spectacle, excelling at weird sports that no one else in the world plays, steroids, and laughing at people who get shot in the nuts by a tennis ball cannon. Thanks for watching. Please hit like, hit subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Thank you very much to those of you who already are. If you're in the position to help the channel grow, if you'd like early access to the videos ad-free, as well as behind-the-scenes features, sneak peeks at upcoming projects, and exclusive monthly podcast about the show, Please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/toygalaxy. I forgot to tell you about that part. And let us know in the comments down below if you were an American Gladiators fan. I don't think I actually started watching it until it was well into its second or third season. It's not something that I am that interested in making a return, but as long as we're talking about it, let's take all of those shows, American Gladiators, BattleBots, American Ninja Warriors, and Wipeout, and put them together. One show to rule them all and to end them all forever. Place your bets. Gladiators, robots? What if I told you that both teams have tennis ball cannons? Cut. Look out for your nuts.